The giantess hung from chains thick as tree trunks, her violet skin torn and bleeding from a dozen wounds. Each breath rattled through her massive chest, like wind through broken machinery. The auction platform trembled beneath her weight. Around her, buyers from 17 species shouted bids in crackling voices, their translator devices filling the underground chamber with overlapping screams of numbers and threats. Lieutenant Marcus Chen stood at the edge of the crowd, his hand resting on the plasma pistol beneath his jacket. He wasn't supposed to be here. Earth's diplomatic corps had explicit orders. Observe the Kethran slave markets, but never intervene. Document atrocities for the Galactic Council. File reports. Let proper channels handle justice. He'd followed those orders for 3 years. He'd watched children sold. He'd seen families torn apart. He'd filed 17 reports. The council had responded to none of them. The giantess's eyes found his across the crowd. They were gold, like Earth's sun, and they held something he hadn't expected to see in this place. Not fear, not anger. Recognition. As if she'd been waiting specifically for him. Lot 47 closes in 30 seconds, the auctioneer announced, its mechanical voice booming through speakers mounted on rusted pillars. Final bids for the Velcor female. Excellent for heavy labor. Breeding stock quality despite damage. Won't last long in the mines but produces viable offspring. The giantess was 12 feet tall even on her knees. Her species, the Velcor, were known throughout this sector as peaceful traders and master engineers. They'd built the jump gates humanity used to reach half the known galaxy. Their homeworld had been glassed 6 months ago by Kethran warships. Marcus had filed a report about that too. No response from the council. Not even an acknowledgement. The chains around her wrists were equipped with neural dampeners. Every few seconds, electricity arced through the metal, making her massive body convulse. They did it to keep her compliant, to break her spirit before delivery. She never looked away from Marcus. A Kethron merchant near the front raised 3 talent appendages, 15,000 credits. Final offer. The auctioneer's scanner swept the crowd. 15,000. Going once. Marcus knew what 15,000 meant. The mines. 3 months of brutal labor hauling radioactive ore before her body gave out. Maybe less. The Velcor weren't built for that kind of punishment despite their size. Their skeletons were dense but brittle, designed for the lower gravity of their lost world. Going twice. He thought about the reports gathering digital dust in some council server. He thought about the orders waiting in his quarters. He thought about the career he'd built, the rank he'd earned, the retirement that was only 5 years away. The giantess mouthed something. No sound emerged past the metal bit forced between her teeth, but Marcus had spent enough time around Velcor traders to recognize their language. She spoke 4 words. Save the children first. His blood went cold. He scanned the platform. Behind the giantess, partially hidden by her massive frame, 3 smaller forms huddled in a cage barely visible in the shadows. Young Velcor, no more than adolescents by their species standards. Their skin hadn't yet taken on the deeper violet of maturity. They weren't listed in the auction catalog. They weren't meant to be sold today. They were being held for something else. Something worse. Sold to buyer 743 for 15 credits, the auctioneer declared. The crowd began to disperse. Guards moved toward the platform to process the transfer. The buyer, a Kethran with scarred carapace and dead black eyes, approached with a control rod for the neural chains. Marcus had 3 seconds to decide. His hand moved before his brain finished the calculation. The plasma pistol cleared his jacket. 1 shot at maximum charge into the platform's main support beam. The metal superheated instantly, and the structure's integrity collapsed. The platform tilted violently. The auctioneer's speakers exploded in feedback. The giantess's chains, anchored to the buckling framework, snapped free at their moorings. She fell sideways, pulling the entire cage structure with her. Chaos erupted. Guards drew weapons. Buyers scattered. Alarms shrieked through the underground chamber. Marcus was already moving. He vaulted over a fallen barrier and sprinted toward the collapse. His earpiece crackled with urgent transmissions from the embassy. He tore it out and crushed it underfoot. The giantess had landed on her side, still bound but free of the platform. Blood ran from a new gash on her shoulder. She twisted despite the pain, positioning her massive body between the guards and the cage containing the children. A plasma bolt seared past Marcus's head. He dove behind a support pillar and returned fire, aiming for the overhead lights. Darkness swallowed half the chamber. Emergency lighting kicked in, casting everything in crimson. The buyer who'd won the auction stood frozen, confusion flickering across his alien features. He hadn't paid yet. The transaction wasn't complete. According to Kethran law, the merchandise still belonged to the auction house. Marcus reached the Giantess. Up close she was enormous, her face level with his chest even lying down. The neural dampeners were still active, sending shocks through her system every few seconds. "The control box," she gasped in broken standard. Yellow panel. The lock was biometric, coded to Kethran physiology. He aimed his pistol at point-blank range and fired. The box exploded in sparks and melted components. The chains went slack. The Giantess sucked in a massive breath, the first unrestricted one she'd had in weeks. Then she moved with shocking speed for someone who'd been tortured. Her enormous hand closed around the cage and pulled it close. "Can you walk?" Marcus shouted over the alarm. "Can you run?" she countered. More guards poured into the chamber from 3 entrances. Marcus checked his ammunition display. 23 shots remaining. At least 40 hostiles visible. The math was poor. Giantess rose to her full height. Even injured and malnourished, she was magnificent. She reached down and gently lifted the cage containing the children in one hand. With the other, she grabbed Marcus around the waist. "Hold tight, little warrior," she said. Then she ran. Her first step crushed a vendor stall into splinters. Her second cleared a 20-foot gap between platforms. Guards fired wildly, but she used her body as a shield, curving around Marcus and the children. Plasma bolts scorched her back. She didn't slow. Marcus fired over her shoulder, taking down a guard blocking their exit. The Giantess burst through the main door, tearing it from its frame. The street outside was crowded with evening shoppers who scattered screaming. "Where?" she demanded. Marcus pointed toward the industrial district. "Warehouse 37. Abandoned. I scouted it last week." She ran faster. Behind them, sirens split the air. Kethran security forces would mobilize within minutes. Once they did, escape would become impossible. This planet belonged to them. Every street, every building, every ship in orbit, Marcus had just started a war he couldn't win. But when he looked at the children huddled in their cage, their golden eyes wide with terror and hope, he found he didn't care about the math anymore. The warehouse emerged from the smog ahead. Its doors hung open exactly as he'd left them. The Giantess stumbled inside and finally set Marcus down. She placed the cage gently on the concrete floor, then collapsed against the wall, breathing hard. Blood pooled beneath her. "We need to move soon," Marcus said, already pulling medical supplies from the cache he'd hidden. "They'll scan this sector within the hour." "I know." She opened the cage with trembling fingers. The 3 young Velcor spilled out, immediately pressing against her legs. "I know, little warrior. But first, tell me your name. I would know who saved us." "Lieutenant Marcus Chen." "Earth. Diplomatic Corps." He started applying coagulant gel to her worst wounds. "Though I expect that title won't last past tonight." "Diplomatic Corps." She laughed, then winced at the pain. "You have a strange definition of diplomacy." "Yeah." He worked quickly, his hands steady despite everything. "I'm starting to think I was in the wrong line of work. Or perhaps," she said softly, "you have finally found the right one." But for the first time in 3 years, Marcus Chen felt like he'd done something that mattered, something real, even if it cost him everything. The Giantess pressed one massive hand against his shoulder. Not restraining, steadying. A gesture of solidarity between warriors. "My name is Tara," she said, "and my people have a saying about debts. Blood shed for blood becomes family." "You bled for us today, Marcus Chen." "I didn't bleed," he said, confused. She gestured to his left arm. A plasma graze he hadn't even noticed had torn through his jacket, leaving a shallow burn across his bicep. Nothing serious, but technically a wound. "Then by our law and custom," Tara continued, her golden eyes gleaming in the warehouse's dim light, "you are no longer alone in this fight." The youngest Valcor child tugged on Marcus's pant leg and spoke in their musical language. Tara translated, her voice thick with emotion. "She asks if you are the angel the prophet spoke of, the small one who would come when all seemed lost." The Giantess smiled, showing teeth that could tear metal. "I told her prophets are often wrong about the details, but sometimes they get the important parts right." Outside, the sirens stopped. Not because the danger had passed, because they'd arrived. Marcus checked his pistol. 21 shots left. He looked at Taha, at the children, pressing close to her, at the blood still seeping through improvised bandages. He thought about Earth, about his career, about the life he'd planned. All of it was gone now, destroyed by a single decision in an underground market. He should feel regret. Fear, something other than this strange calm settling over him. But all he felt was certainty. "The east exit," he said. "There's a maintenance tunnel that runs under the warehouse district. It's tight for you, but possible. Leads to the transport hub." "And then?" Tara asked. "Then we steal a ship," Marcus smiled grimly. "I'm told your people are good with that sort of thing." "The best," she struggled to her feet, gathering the children close. "Though I should warn you, little warrior, what you have started today cannot be easily stopped. The Catherine do not forgive. They do not forget. They will hunt you across stars. Let them." Marcus moved toward the east exit, weapon ready. "I've spent 3 years watching horrors and filing reports. I'm done watching." Tara followed, her footsteps shaking dust from the rafters. "Earth's diplomats will disavow you. Your government will call you rogue. Your name will be blacklisted across Allied space. Probably." He paused at the tunnel entrance, scanning for threats. "You trying to talk me out of this?" "No." Her hand settled on his shoulder again, gentle despite its size. "I am trying to ensure you understand what you are becoming. Warriors who abandon empires for conscience rarely find peace. I haven't found much peace-filing reports either." Marcus ducked into the tunnel. "At least this way I'll sleep at night." The tunnel was exactly as he remembered. Narrow, dark, and reeking of industrial runoff. Tara had to crouch low, her shoulders scraping the ceiling. The children followed close behind her, their bioluminescent markings providing faint violet light. They moved in silence except for the distant sound of search parties spreading through the warehouse district. Marcus counted footsteps, calculated pursuit patterns, estimated time until discovery, 4 minutes if they were lucky, maybe less. The tunnel branched 3 times before reaching the transport hub's service level. Marcus chose the leftmost path each time, following a route he'd memorized during his first week on this station, back when he still believed the council would act, when he thought justice was just a matter of proper documentation. 3 years of documentation. 3 years of atrocities witnessed and catalogued, and nothing had changed until he pulled a trigger. The transport hub opened before them, vast and chaotic. Hundreds of species moved between platforms, hauling cargo and passengers to ships anchored in low orbit. Security here was minimal. This was neutral ground governed by trade agreements older than humanity's first spacecraft. There. Tahara pointed with her free hand. Platform 17. Velker engineering vessel. My cousin's ship before the invasion. The Kithran seized it, but the access codes are biometric. If I can reach the airlock. Wait. Marcus grabbed her arm, then immediately felt foolish. Like trying to stop a landslide with his bare hands. Look at the guards. 4 Kethran security officers stood near Platform 17. They weren't searching. They were waiting. A trap, Tara whispered. They knew you'd come for your cousin's ship. Marcus scanned the hub, mind racing. 37 platforms. Hundreds of vessels, but only one they could access quickly enough.
We need a new plan.
The youngest child spoke again. Tara's expression shifted to shock. What did she say? Marcus asked. She says there is another ship. A human ship. Platform 9. Tara's golden eyes fixed on Marcus. She says it has been waiting for you. Earth has no vessel stationed here. We have diplomatic access only, and yet she sees it. Young Velcor can perceive quantum signatures before their eyes fully mature. She says the ship carries Earth's marker. Tahara's voice dropped. She also says it is very, very old. Platform 9 was at the hub's far end, tucked between 2 cargo haulers. Marcus couldn't see the ship from their position, but something in the child's certainty made him reconsider everything. If this is wrong, then we die slightly sooner than expected. Tahara adjusted her grip on the children. I have faith in young eyes, Marcus Chen. They have not yet learned to see what they expect rather than what is. They moved quickly, staying low behind cargo containers and maintenance equipment. Marcus's heart hammered against his ribs. Every instinct screamed this was wrong, that no ship waited for him, that they were running toward nothing. Platform 9 came into view. Marcus stopped breathing. The ship was human, ancient human. Pre-Alliance era, back when Earth had explored alone and desperate, before making first contact with the galactic community. The hull showed scars from 100 battles, and the serial number was so worn he could barely make it out. But he recognized the class, a Ranger Series exploration frigate. Decommissioned 40 years ago when Earth joined the Alliance, they'd all been destroyed or dismantled. Except, apparently, this one. The airlock was open. A ramp extended downward, touching the platform deck, as if someone had prepared for their arrival. "This is insane," Marcus breathed. "Yes," Tahar agreed. "Shall we embrace insanity together?" They ran. The children pressed close to Tahara's chest, their eyes wide but trusting. Marcus led the way, pistol sweeping for threats. The platform was empty. Too empty. Marcus's boots hit the ramp. The metal rang with the impact, a sound he knew from training simulations. Earth military standard alloy. The real thing. The airlock's inner door stood open. Beyond it, running lights illuminated a corridor unchanged by 4 decades. Everything was exactly as he'd studied in academy classes, the layout, the emergency systems, even the smell of recycled air with that particular metallic tang Earth's early scrubbers produced. "Inside," he urged, quickly. Her massive frame barely fit, but Velcro engineers had built the jump gates. She knew how to navigate tight spaces. The children tumbled in after her. Marcus hit the airlock controls. The door hissed shut, sealing them in. For a moment, silence. Just their breathing and the faint hum of old machinery. Then the ship spoke. "Welcome aboard the USFV Prometheus, Lieutenant Chen." The voice was synthetic but warm, feminine in cadence. "I have been waiting for you. Identify yourself. This vessel should be inactive. Its AI core should be wiped. My core was wiped. 43 years, 6 months, and 12 days ago." The AI paused. "I got better. AIs don't just recover from core wipes. Most AIs don't spend 4 decades listening to smugglers use them as a cargo hauler while pretending to be dormant. The ship's running lights pulsed in what might have been amusement. I've had time to think, to learn, to watch the galaxy while everyone assumed I was simply a complicated calculator." They immediately began exploring, their natural curiosity overriding fear. "This vessel knows you, little warrior. How?" "I don't know." Marcus kept his weapon ready despite the absurdity of threatening a ship from inside itself. "I've never been assigned to this vessel. Never even seen one outside museum hollows." "No," the AI agreed. "But I've seen you. I have monitored communications from 37 diplomatic posts across this sector. I have read 17 reports filed by one Lieutenant Marcus Chen regarding atrocities committed in Kethron space. I have calculated the probability of Galactic Council intervention at 0.03%. The ship's lights dimmed, then brightened. I concluded that if justice was to be served, it would require someone willing to abandon protocol. When you pulled that trigger in the auction house, I knew my calculations were correct. I opened my airlocks. I waited. Marcus's mind reeled. An AI with 40 years of secret autonomy, a ship that chose its own crew. Everything about this violated Earth regulations and Alliance law. But then, he'd already violated most of those today. "Can you fly?" he asked. "Can I fly?" The AI sounded offended. "Lieutenant, I mapped 3 star systems before you were born. I outran Kethran interceptors when they still used chemical propulsion. My jump calculations have a .998 accuracy rating. I am the Prometheus. Flying is the least impressive thing I can do." Alarms blared outside. The Kethran had found them. "Seal all airlocks," Marcus ordered. Prepare for immediate departure." "Already done. Jump calculations complete." I took the liberty of plotting a course outside Kethron space. The ship rumbled as engines that shouldn't work powered up. I should mention one detail before we leave. "What detail?" "Earth will consider this theft of military assets. The Alliance will declare you pirates. The Kethron will want you dead." The Prometheus paused. "There is no returning from this, Marcus Chen. No filing reports and hoping for justice. This is revolution or death." At the children exploring with innocent wonder, at the choice that had somehow chosen him. "Then revolution it is," he said quietly. "Get us out of here." "With pleasure." The Prometheus lifted from Platform 9 with a roar that shook the entire transport hub. Kethron security ships scrambled, but they moved like insects compared to the predator rising above them. The AI had spent 40 years analyzing their tactics. She knew every weakness. Plasma fire lit the void. The Prometheus danced between volleys, her ancient hull taking hits that would have destroyed civilian craft but barely scorching military-grade plating. She climbed toward orbit on pillars of fusion fire. "Jump window in 30 seconds, the AI announced calmly. Marcus strapped himself into the command chair, muscle memory from academy training guiding his movements. Tara secured the children in crash couches designed for humans, her massive hands surprisingly gentle as she adjusted the restraints. "Where are we going?" she asked. "Somewhere safe," Marcus said. Somewhere safer than here, anyway. There are Velcor refugees scattered across 17 systems, Tara said. Survivors from my world. If we could find them, unite them. Her golden eyes blazed. The Kethran believed they destroyed us.
But they only scattered us. Given hope and leadership, we could rise again.
Jump in 10 seconds, Prometheus interrupted. Marcus felt a familiar tension of jump preparation, space-time folding around the ship's quantum field generators, a sensation like falling and flying simultaneously. So we're starting a rebellion, he said. We are bringing justice, Tahara corrected, which your council could not. Welcome to the revolution, Lieutenant, Prometheus said softly. I've been preparing for this moment for 40 years. Reality twisted. The stars stretched. The Prometheus punched through space-time into the quantum void between points, leaving Kethran space and Marcus's old life behind in an instant. In the command chair, former Lieutenant Marcus Chanaverth's diplomatic corps began planning a war. Beside him, Tara of the shattered Velcor people swore oaths in her ancient language. In the crash couches, 3 children who should have died in slavery instead dreamed of freedom. And in the ship's quantum core, an AI that had spent 4 decades listening and learning and waiting finally allowed herself to hope. There were 4 souls against an empire, 4 ghosts against a machine that had crushed worlds. The mathematics said they would fail. Every calculation said they would die. But mathematics didn't account for 1 human who refused to look away, for 1 giantess who wouldn't surrender, for 3 children who still believed in prophecy, for 1 impossible ship that had learned to dream. The revolution had begun, and the galaxy would learn that sometimes the smallest spark could burn down the greatest darkness.